What does it mean to redeem Firstborn? We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about other things in this section of the Bible. I'm Daniel Kaplan. I'm here with my father, Dr. Kaplan. This is Wake Up to the Bible. We are reading through Genesis through Deuteronomy this year, and today we're going to read Exodus 13, 1 through 16. I'll be reading from the Robert Alter translation. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Consecrate unto me each firstborn, breach of each womb among the Israelites in man and in beast, it is mine." And Moses said to the people, "Remember this day on which you went out of Egypt from the house of slaves, for by strength of hand the Lord brought you out from here, and unleavened stuff shall not be eaten. Today you are going out in the month of the new grain. And so when the Lord brings you to the land of the Canaanite, and the Hittite, and the Amorite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite, which he swore to your fathers to give to you, a land flowing with milk and honey, you shall perform this service in this month. 7 days you shall eat flat bread, and on the seventh day a festival to the Lord. Flat bread shall be eaten through the 7 days, and no leavened stuff of yours shall be seen, and no leavening of yours shall be seen in all your territory. And you shall tell your son on that day, saying, For the sake of what the Lord did for me when I went out of Egypt. And it shall be a sign for you on your hand, and a remembrance between your eyes, so that the Lord's teaching will be in your mouth. For with a strong hand the Lord brought you out of Egypt. And you shall keep this statute at its fixed time, year after year. And so when the Lord brings you to the land of the Canaanite, as he swore to you and to your father, and gives it to you, you shall pass every womb breach to the Lord, and every breach of spawn of beast that you have, the males to the Lord, and every donkey's breach you shall redeem with a lamb, and should you not redeem it, you shall break its neck, and every human firstborn of your sons you shall redeem. And so should your son ask you tomorrow, saying, What is this? You shall say to him, By strength of hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt from the house of slaves. And it happened, when Pharaoh was hard about sending us off, that the Lord killed every firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of man to the firstborn of beast. Therefore do I sacrifice the Lord every womb breach of the male, and every firstborn of my sons I must redeem. And it shall be a sign on your hand and circlets between your eyes, that through strength of hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt." So here we have a fair amount of rituals in order to remember. And this is something that we were talking about earlier, is how, God works with human beings, and we are creatures that do benefit from customs and reminders and such. What are some of the things that come to mind when you're looking at this?
I think when you see frontlets between your eyes and sign on your hand, if you put all the verses together that discuss these things, some of them I would think are more poetic, in the sense of it should be in your mind, and it should be in your actions, that you should be guided and directed by these things, rather than literally wrapping words around your arm or putting them on your forehead. But the Orthodox Jews, when they have their tefillin, their phylacteries, this portion is included in the phylacteries that they wear, because they have taken this, in a certain sense, literally, as well as Deuteronomy 6 passages there.
Right.
So it's become, it's influenced the Jews to have this tradition of tefillin. But I don't think that tefillin have been found before, like whatever it is, maybe first century or so. I don't think that, you can say the Jews believe tefillin come from Mount Sinai, and well, even though I used to wear tefillin, but I don't believe it's a law from Moses that came down from Sinai. I think it's a later tradition. Jesus Christ didn't condemn the tradition. He just said they're making a show of it. They may broad their phylacteries. He wasn't saying there's something wrong with phylacteries. He was just saying they're making a show of it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, any sort of religious practice, if you're not doing it in a mean-spirited sort of way, if it actually does remind you of something, I mean, that's not such a negative thing. It just depends, right? It depends on whether or not it's become something used to bludgeon others and whatnot. And if you're inventing a command that it does not actually say, then that can be a problem with that. And yeah, I would not think that when it says, it's circlets between your eyes, it's necessarily saying that therefore you need to, because that doesn't really tell you what that even how to implement that, right? You then,
Right.
let's say you do want to take that literally. You need to have circlets in front of your eyes. Well, why isn't it permanent? Why isn't it just something you want to always wear? Why is it just something you wear once in a while? Because there's nothing in there that gives a time sensitivity to it. So I think, you have to be careful with things like that. Sean has a question. He said, what do you make of the specific verbiage of "for with a strong hand I brought you out of Egypt," and then later on he says "a strength of hand"? Do you make anything of that specifically? The specific choice of
I was.
the strength of the hand.
I'll get to that, but there was something I wanted to go back to.
Okay.
It, it's going to take a moment to find it, but it has to do in Exodus 12, where he talks about on the first day of unleavened bread you shall remove the leaven from your home.
What were you looking for?
Yeah, here it is. It's in verse 15. I just wanted to clarify this because the literal translation says, 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall remove leaven from your houses. I think that Robert Alter has a nicer way of putting it. It's the idea, and obviously you're not de-leavening on the first day. It means that by that first day you should be unleavened. Is the thought, and that's important to keep that in mind because of something that comes up in Leviticus 23. But I would say if you read this, on the first day you shall remove leaven from your homes. It means it should be done so that on the first day you're de-leavened. And Robert Alter, he has it. You will expunge leaven.
Uh-huh.
He gives it more of interpretive. So it makes it more clear. Because obviously on the holy day you're not doing work to de-leaven your home. You should have done that already.
Right.
Okay. And now
by that day you need to be.
Yeah, and now we go to the 13th verse, 13th chapter, and where's the strong hand? And
strong hand is 16 and 20, I think. Okay. No, 16. Sorry, 16 and
strength of hand
and a 9.
And verse 9.
Yeah.
And so that with a strong hand. Well, I think that it has to do with what he did. They didn't just quietly sneak away. These were so dramatic. That's why Hollywood is always, talking about it. Because the special effects artists have their heyday. No, this was God did this in a very dramatic way for a reason. This was to be a seminal event in the history of God's people, in the history of humankind. The Exodus. I would say this: if you're an Old Testament person, the time when you see God's hand most in human history is at this time. Mm-hmm. If you're a New Testament person, the same time of year you see God's hand in the sacrifice of Jesus Christ.
Right.
So God's ultimate love is shown on Old Testament times by what he does here at this time. And then in New Testament, of course, goes well beyond that.
Right.
When he becomes human and dies,
right.
You can't. Well, what more can he do?
Right.
He can't do more than that.
Right.
So I would say that with the strong hand had to do with how he did it.
Yeah. Fair enough. Another thought is the law of the Lord may be in your mouth is how ESV translates it. It is here where it says the Lord's teaching will be in your mouth. But it is interesting because this is pre the law, essentially. So it's interesting that it's mentioned as such, right? I mean, obviously they have instructions about Passover, but they don't have any other instructions that we are necessarily aware of, except we do know they have to be aware of them because Abraham had them. But it does show a certain amount of oral law, that existed.
And he also said he's going to make them into his people, so he's preparing them to receive, in effect, the constitution of the nation on Mount Sinai.
Yeah.
He's already preparing them for that.
Yeah.
He gave them the Sabbath in Exodus 16 before they got to Sinai, for example.
Mm-hmm. And Andrew says that he and his wife discussed it while reading the Shema last night to start Sabbath, that it's about the commandments being on your mind continually. Nice. Nice thought, Andrew. Christina wants to know how you define leaven. Is there a Hebrew specific definition that can help people? Because I know people do debate this, right? Is this things that are leavened? Is it leavening agents? Is it leavening agents that are natural, leavening agents that are artificial. Lots of questions about this, right? Because people do take different approaches. So what would you suggest is a good approach for people that are trying to fulfill the command? What would you suggest that they do to decide to be convicted about what leaven is?
Well, there's a term se'or and there's a term chametz, and I think that leavening agents like yeast. There's certain things that are leavening agents that are normally used for that you'd remove, plus leavened products, pastries and things. Leavened products.
But what about like baking soda and toothpaste and stuff like
that? What do we do about baking soda? I'm trying.
You do. My dad is very diligent, and he does remove even baking soda and toothpaste.
No, I don't remove toothpaste.
You do.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't remove. I did when I was an.
No, you did as an adult. Yes, you did.
I removed. How could I? I still used. I didn't buy kosher for Passover toothpaste.
You bought toothpaste that didn't have baking soda. Yes, you did. Because you usually did buy baking soda toothpaste.
I see.
Switched.
I never thought of that.
Yep.
Because that toothpaste I use now doesn't have it, I guess.
But you used to.
I never even thought about
my beloved sourdough starter. Yeah, it's a question. I do think you could lose your mind about it, obviously, because you need to clean your house, but what does it mean? Every little last bit crump, the whole point is that you can't remove sin completely, right? And you'll find that no matter how diligent you are, sometime in the middle of the festival, you'll probably find something and you'll be like, I wish I would have removed it. And that's kind of the point. Now, to that point, I'm not saying don't put effort into it, but keep in mind the principle of what's involved.
Yeah, regarding the toothpaste issue, I'd forgotten, frankly, but the Jews have a standard that is too strict. They say something fit for a dog to eat comes under the law of having to be unleavened. I would say maybe human consumption, and
I will say too, I mean, in terms of practicality, it's not that bad. I know the beloved sourdough starter. Yeah, that's harsh. But usually something that is like baking soda or whatever. I mean, that's cheap anyway, and it's not that great. Like yeast goes bad quickly, so just get rid of it. Like, what's it to you? It's not that big of a deal. But yeah, there might be a few exceptions where it's kind of painful to have to deal with it. Sure. There's a sacrifice.
When we get to Leviticus 23, we might want to deal with it at greater length because some people may own eateries and what if and so forth. There's a lot of issues there.
I mean, in Israel, what often happens is people just shut down. They just shut down their business. Or Orthodox Jews might just shut down their business. If they have a bakery, they just close.
But there are things to consider.
Right.
We may wait till Leviticus 23. But I was going to mention...
Although, fun fact, you can actually get unleavened McDonald's that time of year. They do switch out their kitchen, and so you can get unleavened burgers and stuff.
Well, you can make unleavened rolls.
What about also there's the principle that Jews have where they can give it to somebody else?
Well, they literally sell it.
Yeah.
But that's I'll go to Leviticus 23 for that one.
Okay, all right. That's a little teaser.
No, that's often misunderstood.
That's a teaser.
Yeah, it's often misunderstood.
We'll get to Leviticus eventually.
But no, I was going to say something else.
Okay.
I would say that in one sense, think of the spirit of the festival. Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians 5, don't be puffed up. And, for example, my wife feels that, there are certain products that are considered kosher for Passover by Jews because they use a non-grain as a leavening agent. I guess whatever it is.
Like baking powder.
Sodium bicarbonate or whatever. They use
Jews are okay with artificial leavening agents because they did not exist at the time of Exodus.
Yeah, because they're not considered by
grain.
Now, I would say I wouldn't condemn people that do that, but in my household we didn't because as my wife felt like was kind of breaking the spirit of the day. She reads what Paul says: "You are unleavened, you're puffed up." Yeah. So she felt like it's kind of working around it, right. But on the other hand, though, I wouldn't condemn those who have that standard as if somehow we should look, we're so much more righteous than they are.
It is something to think about because it's not an exact science.
So I'm glad Christina raised that point.
Because she's specifically asking what was the agent used in Exodus. I believe in that time they didn't use agents so much as it was more of a time thing. There was a natural fermentation sort of process, similar to like a starter. I don't think I don't
so.
think that they had like a way to quickly leaven something.
Because that's what it says. They didn't have time to
right.
rise. And evidently, I think Egypt was, well known for leavened products. I think leaven.
Well, that's also what got them in the mess was the grain.
Leaven
in the first
was
place.
a symbol of Egypt in a way.
Yeah, but grain was also what got them in the mess in the first place, because Joseph saved the grain, and then they treated them poorly after they bailed their country out of a famine with grain, and now we're reminding them, they got puffed up,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, it's a good question. It's something we're thinking about, and my sister's getting married on the first day of unleavened bread, so no wedding cake. Actually, fun story. My dad actually got married during unleavened bread, and he did have an unleavened wedding cake.
Yeah, so that means on our anniversary, we could have theoretically kept some of it and eaten it, but we didn't. But but I mean, so there's some people in our community, in the commandment keeping community where we were, they would have one layer unleavened, so they could save it. They would make a wedding cake, but they would have like one.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I never even thought about that.
Well, I'm saying I never did either.
I always thought that was gross.
Some people
like you freeze it and you have it a year later. It's like, bleh.
No, some people do that.
I know they do that. I think it's gross.
No, but I would.
But my wife's also a baker, so I'm a snob when it comes to baked goods. And the idea of a frozen cake a year later is yuck.
But the British evidently are commonly use fruitcake at a wedding, and we had an unleavened fruitcake at our wedding.
Yeah,
we were married on the third day of unleavened bread.
But again, some people would take umbrage maybe with some of the approach because I don't know how it was used. But eggs are a leavening agent in a sense. But people would say, well, are they a leavening agent in the same way that baking soda is? And I would say no. Like my wife often makes a flourless chocolate cake for Passover, and I would say it doesn't really resemble a normal cake. So to me, it still keeps the principle. But other people would say, well, aren't you just working around the law? Fair enough.
I think it's fun to be creative like that, though.
Yeah.
I think that makes the holiday exciting.
Yeah, I do like that.
Creative like that.
Yeah.
Now, see, the Jews have this matzah, which is flavored, which is egg flavored.
Matzah brie?
It's just it's egg matzah.
Oh, right, egg matzah.
But see, the Orthodox,
you can't have that at Passover.
Well, no, the Orthodox Jews, it'll be written in Hebrew, not in English.
Yeah,
as far as I know. But it says this is for the sick and
whatever.
I forget whoever else. It's not for the normal, healthy, strong people who don't need this flavored matzah. Yeah. But of course, egg matzah is unleavened. In fact.
It's not, of course, Dad. Bakers would tell you that egg is a leavening agent. I'm telling you. So it is not as simple as that.
When you look at it, it's
I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying.
It can be. I don't think it's being used that way in the matzah. It's a flavoring.
I don't agree with you.
All right.
I have made matzah with egg and without egg, and there is a difference.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
All right.
However, my thing about eggs is I do not think it's enough of a difference.
Right. Yeah.
I think of it as more of a thickening thing than a true leavening agent. Because to me, it doesn't give that puffed up feeling to what you're saying, and it's getting to the principle of the law, not the letter of the law, or whatever you want to say.
And let me say something else. The Orthodox Jews got hysterical when it came to the days of unleavened bread in certain respects.
They did.
And, pardon me, to have this rule that when you bake matzah for unleavened bread, you have to say ahead of time, we're doing this for the sake of the commandment.
Yeah. And then you have 14 minutes,
and
right?
18.
18 minutes.
It has to be there only 18 minutes.
Yeah.
Therefore, you'll go to the supermarket and you'll see matzah.
Uh-huh.
And it'll say on the package,
not
for Passover use.
Yeah.
But I would say, I believe you can go ahead and eat that.
Right.
Because they have certain extra rules that they've established.
Also, for those of you who don't like high fructose corn syrup, it's the one time you can get Coca-Cola with sugar easily, although there's Mexican Coke. But it'll have a yellow cap. And the reason why is because Orthodox Jews don't have corn during Passover.
Well, just the Europeans, the Mediterraneans.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Just the Europeans.
Yes. Europeans do not. So corn syrup is a no-go. So they have kosher for Passover Coke, which is pure cane sugar and not high fructose corn syrup.
See, in Europe, certain vegetables, legumes, were evidently used to make flour.
Mm-hmm.
So European Jews didn't eat beans during unleavened bread.
Yeah.
But Mediterranean and Middle Eastern Jews could.
Yeah.
So as I said, you can.
Lots of different possibilities.
Right.
Yeah, and I think you're right. You're right about getting to the principle of it, right?
Right,
Paul extrapolates the principle of what we're supposed to get out of it now. So to me, that is what should lead because I really do. You could probably lose your mind because everything becomes naturally leavened over time, right? It's true. You just leave something out, and it's going to be a little puffed which is why you have the whole 18-minute rule. Well,
let me give you an example. Most Jews eat matzo ball soup on Passover. It's like a standard thing, but ultra-Orthodox Jews, they figure that because you heat it,
it also is aged.
Somehow the thing expands a bit, or
it
something.
Does.
Oh, okay. So, but the ultra-Orthodox Jews are kind of off in the corner, not eating matzo ball soup. But
right.
Everybody else, it's like one of the main things of the holiday is matzo ball soup.
I love matzo ball soup. But but I could also understand why somebody would be like, well, matzo ball soup, because they do puff up a little bit. But
and that goes back to a question I had.
Does that violate
that I haven't fully answered, and you might contribute if you want.
Okay.
There's a big group out there now.
Yeah, sounds good.
Wow. So now we're developing a mass audience, right? All the way from Cape Town to the San Fernando Valley. But anyway,
New Orleans and Tallahassee too.
Wow. Okay. The Panhandle, or anyway. But what I wanted to say was you're not supposed to boil the lamb. You have to roast it.
Right.
And I'm still thinking about why that is.
You're not supposed to boil the lamb?
Right. Go back to Exodus.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to be over fire.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I don't boil my lamb, so...
No, but I'm saying...
it's not very good.
Is that because it should...
No, why is that? I don't know. There might be... I feel like there is a symbolism to it, right? Boiling is kind of like a slow process, and it's... If you think about it, it's like don't cook a kid in its mother's milk, too. There's something about boiling that I think has like a negative connotation. Yeah, it'd be worth looking into. Especially if you think of it a parallel to Jesus.
That's what
the idea
saying.
That it's like boiling.
How is
that seems a little distasteful.
Type antitype, anyway.
Yeah. But, I agree with you.
Something we could go back. Go back to at some point.
Right. What else was I going to say? So the other question I wanted to ask, which is the whole way we started this, we got off, was Firstborn. So what's up with this whole Firstborn redemption thing, and what should we think about it these days?
Well, later on, it seems that the firstborn are tied in with the fact that initially they were going to be the priests in each family, and then the golden calf incident. So now the priesthood is restricted to Aaron and Levi.
Uh-huh.
So it's later on in the Bible, it seems that the redemption is connected to the fact that firstborn are not priests, and so therefore they're redeemed. They theoretically they would have been, but a change has been made because of the over time. So the final regulation was Aaron and Levi are the priests, not the firstborn. So the firstborn had to be redeemed. Right. And it's interesting that comes up though even here before that,
right? Even
in Exodus 13, that they need to be redeemed,
right?
So.
Because the Jewish custom, they don't have the sacrificial system, but they do have a custom.
Yeah, we do. I have
firstborn.
Performed as a priest. I have performed a redemption ceremony. They used to use silver dollars.
For me?
No. You don't need to be redeemed. You're the son of a Kohen.
Right.
I redeemed a non-Kohen son. I was chosen as the priest to redeem the non-Kohen son.
Right.
In fact, later on, there's a slide of that ceremony that you could see someday. Maybe.
Yeah.
But
I was just thinking, like, what is the new? What do we make anything of this in the modern era?
I was going to get to that.
Yeah.
So later on, it's codified as 5 shekels were given as the redemption for the firstborn son.
Okay.
If they're non-Levitical.
Right.
And it's for the firstborn son.
Yeah.
And so the Jews traditionally have ways of doing this, and I would say if a person wanted to observe this by giving an offering for their firstborn son, I would think that would be the appropriate thing to do.
Okay,
just give an offering,
so like a free will offering, of some sort.
To
Interesting
to the work of God as you understand it.
Yeah.
To give an offering for firstborn son
in honor of the firstborn.
Yeah, and you might. Beyond that, I see the shekel is there's no more standard shekel. the Jews have decided that at one time they would give silver dollars because there was enough silver in those coins to seemingly be like a shekel. So they would give silver dollars,
Uh-huh.
and normally the Kohen would not keep them, or he might keep them, but he wouldn't spend them. He would either donate them or maybe just keep them, but he wouldn't spend them on himself.
Right.
Nowadays. But I would also like. I've been reading about this. Evidently, in Israel, they do mint special coins for this ceremony.
Oh, wow.
So that's
Interesting.
in Israel now. As far as I know, they have special coins that are minted for this specific ceremony. But it is tied in with the sacrificial system.
It does seem
later on.
Yeah.
And even here, it seems to be tied in with the sacrificial system because you're redeeming animals,
Right.
and you're redeeming your son. So
Right.
it seems to be part of the sacrificial system.
Okay.
So I would think you don't want to get too.
No, you can honor the principle, but you shouldn't be too verklempt if you've never done anything about it.
So I knew I knew a fellow that donated. This is back 50 years ago or so.
Uh-huh.
But a friend of mine, he donated $5, like the 5 shekels in the Bible. He donated $5 when his firstborn son was born. But of course, $5 then meant a lot more than it would now.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I was just getting because it is interesting because you don't want to just sacrifice. Well, you don't want to just be like just excuse a law just because it's connected. So I think that's a good principle. That makes a lot of sense to honor him in some way. All right. Anything else about this passage? I guess not. All right. So we will see you tomorrow. If you haven't, please like, subscribe, hit the bell. It's a great year to read the law, if you ask me. What? Did you have something?
No, this is the final portion of.
Yeah, this is the final portion of this week. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.